Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Our today's topic is kidney failure or renal failure. So kidney failure is something in which the kidneys are no more able to work properly. And it is a general term that is used for a declined kidney functioning, particularly the efficiency of filtering process that is called kidney failure or renal failure. So there are two types of kidney failure which are discussed in our book. One is the chronic renal failure and the other is acute renal failure. We will discuss them one by one. Chronic renal failure, it is an irreversible state, or you can say it is an irreversible deterioration of the renal functioning, a state that cannot be set back to normal by any means. It is gradual and slowly progressive process that occurs over a longer period of years, and its only treatment is kidney transplant. Means you have to replace the old kidney or the failed kidney with the new kidney. And the causes of chronic renal failure may be the bacterial infection and nephritis, that is the inflammation of glomerulus, damage due to a high blood pressure, that is a major cause of the renal failure and the chronic renal failure. Another important type of disease that can result into the kidney failure is diabetes mellitus. So these are the four causes of the renal failure. Now if we talk about the acute renal failure, this type can usually be reversible, so it can be replaced with different therapies or different treatments. And it is not the irreversible deterioration, but it is the reversible deterioration or destruction of the kidney functioning. It progresses rapidly and occurs in a very limited time. Now if we talk about the acute renal failure's causes, it is caused by hemorrhage due to trauma. Means any shock can cause hemorrhage or breakage of the nerves which are present in the brain that are directly linked to the kidney and its functioning, or some vessels that are connected to the kidneys. Vomiting and diarrhea. Another cause is the excess excretion of the urine or excess sweating that may result into the loss of essential ions which are present in the blood. And obstruction of the ureters, which means the destruction or the blockage of the ureters and its functions, bladder or urethra, that may be caused due to the kidney stones. Severe nephritis, that is another cause of the acute renal failure, and we have talked about the nephritis in the previous lecture. Now the treatments of the kidney failure or renal failure may be two. These are called the dialysis, in which two different types of dialysis can be done to the patient. It is basically a procedure in which we can filter out the toxins which are formed in the blood by the artificial methods when the kidneys are unable to perform the function of removing the extra toxins from the blood. Now there are two different types of dialysis. One is hemodialysis and the other one is called peritoneal dialysis. Hemodialysis means cleaning the blood. Simply, it means cleaning up of the blood, and in this process, blood is circulated through a machine which is called a dialyzer. In the next slide, you can see the dialyzer and its functioning. So here, what's gonna happen? A vein is connected to one end of the dialyzer and the artery is connected to another end. The undetoxified blood is drawn into the dialyzer machine via the artery, which enters into the dialysis membrane. Now the dialyzer and its proper structure is seen in the diagram. It consists of tubes which are semi-permeable membranes that works on the same principles as in the kidney. A diffusion gradient is maintained inside these membranes for the removal of nitrogenous wastes and excess water from the blood. And a catheter is inserted into the blood vessel that I have discussed with you, usually in the arm, and catheter is a tube. It routes the blood circulation externally into the machine, and when the blood of the patient enters into the machine, it gets cleaned up by taking up the essential ions which are required in the body and losing the toxic materials, the nitrogenous wastes, into the dialyzer fluid. The cleansed blood then returns to the body through a second catheter that is now attached to a vein, and it will carry back the blood to the patient. If we talk about the long-term dialysis, a permanent arteriovenous AV shunt is connected to an artery and a vein. That is called a dialysis machine's cannulus. Then it is connected to the shunt whenever hemodialysis is desired. These tubes are synthetic tubes which are made up of cellophane membrane. Now if we talk about the dialysate, which is the fluid present in the dialyzer, it contains the proteins and amino acids which need not to be excreted out from the body of the patient because its kidney is already not working. Now, if we talk about the advantages of hemodialysis, it is that the patient whose kidney is not completely failed yet can get benefit out of this dialysis machine. Another type of dialysis machine is peritoneal dialysis. It works on the same principle except that abdomen has a peritoneal cavity lined by a thin epithelium called the peritoneum. So peritoneum that encloses the abdominal cavity in our abdomen. The peritoneal dialyzer will act as that peritoneum which is already present in our abdominal cavity, But the difference is that it has two catheters, means two tubes are connected in this peritoneal dialysis machine. It's not basically the machine, but it is a membrane which is inserted into the abdomen of the patient. It is surgically inserted into the abdominal cavity that serves as the portals through which dialysate or dialysis fluid enters and leaves the cavity. So, the molecules of the dialysate are too large to pass through the peritoneum. So, the solution remains contained in the abdominal cavity, and the essential nutrients which are needed in the blood, they cannot pass the permeable membranes because their pore size will be smaller, which can match the size of the nitrogenous waste molecules. So, the nitrogenous waste molecules will be removed out, keeping all the essential molecules inside the blood of the patient. Its other function is that the dialysate in the peritoneum cavity, it attracts certain molecules to cross the membrane and retain themselves inside the abdomen. A second catheter carries dialyze out of the abdominal cavity. So this was all about today's topic. Thank you so much.